we will now move on to our panic meter segment for this week, and we will discuss a couple of these teams that I just talked about on the standings. Looking here, we have 4 teams this week on the panic meter. We're going to start with the team at the top. I'm curious to see what is Matt's team panic meter. As I just
Yeah,
pointed out, he is
let's see.
5-1. So looking at Matt's team, obviously you see it there on the right. It looks pretty good. However, he did get an injury with Justin Fields that did not look very good. So we'll see. Devontae Adams has been kind of shaky. And T. Higgins has some guys on bye for this week at least, but he is 5-1, which obviously is a huge positive in first place. As we said, a pretty strong points for, but not tops. As we know with Matt's team, the running backs are sometimes the concern. So I'm curious, at 5-1, where is Matt's panic meter? I'm gonna go last. So Cheese, you start. Where is Matt's panic
We're gonna
meter?
keep it right where it is. Signing trepidation.
Really? Okay. So a little bit lower than I was expecting some of you. Okay. Why that?
Um,
Back.
okay. Well, I think he can tank these injuries for sure.
Okay.
5-1, you can
Yeah.
afford this to happen, and they don't seem to be long term or anything like that.
Mhm.
But I think it's a little concerning that like 2 of his players are out, and his team looks moderately not bad, but much worse than what hurts.
Okay.
So I think although he can tank these, it's not great when although it would happen to most teams, but like he loses a couple of players, and because of the strength of his wide receivers, if those are
Mhm.
the players he loses,
Yes.
the whole team looks so much worse. Versus if he lost like
Yes.
Najee Harris.
Yep. I understand what you're saying. He's got his quarterback isn't like a top tier one. His running back definitely aren't top tier.
You
His
need
tight
those wide
ends not
receivers
top
healthy.
tier. It's really just the wide receivers. So if he gets any type of injury to wide receiver, big boys, his team definitely goes to middle of the pack. So good analysis there. All right, Rat, where are we putting Matt's panic meter?
I'm putting him in dash of worry.
Okay.
Um, you know, we don't know. Obviously, we don't know the injury content with some of his players. We'll find that out soon. So maybe this
Yep.
will change up a little.
Mhm.
Um, Najee Harris is not anywhere near a running back I would want in fantasy,
Yeah.
but Matt has that just wide receivers that just kill everybody. It seems like,
Yep.
and that's why I think Matt's only struggling in 1 to 2 areas. Other than that, it would be perfect.
Okay. All right. Zombie.
Um, I'm gonna put him in pessimistic.
Ooh. Okay. Lower than everyone
Mm,
so far. Okay.
Um,
Why?
how the fuck is he 5-1?
After you were done, my question to all of you was going to be, is Matt's team the number one team in the
No,
league?
No,
No. Okay.
I think.
So he's
I
gotten a little
think
fortunate with matchups then this year. That would be what it
yes,
would suggest if we don't think it's the best team in
yes.
the
His
league. Okay.
matchups. Well, his wide receivers have done the work, but
Yes, of
also
course.
he's gotten easy. His schedule has been favorable to start the year,
Yes. And he did make a
and
good trade with Pook for Pacheco. That definitely helped him.
right.
He got rid
I just
of,
don't.
I
I
believe, was
don't
it
think.
Williams? I think Williams for
yeah,
Pacheco. That was a great trade for
no.
him. Huh? It wasn't?
It
I
was
gave him Mike
Justin Field.
Evans.
It was who?
It was Justin Fields, Pacheco, and Sutton for Mike Evans and
Oh,
Williams, I think,
okay.
or
So he
something
gave
like
up
that.
Mike Evans and he gave up Williams. I still think that's a really good trade for him. Even though Justin Fields is now hurt, maybe it's more to the middle now. But these last 2 weeks, Fields has popped off, and then Pacheco's been great. So I would definitely have leaned towards him getting the better end. Obviously, with Fields now, that kind of makes it a wash at this point moving
His
forward.
I think his wide receivers are gonna like any week that his wide receivers don't all score like 20 plus, he's
Hmm.
losing. I
Okay.
think
Yep. That's a fair analysis.
so. I think I think he's got a playoff team, but I don't think he's gonna be the number one seed.
Okay. Yep. All right, that's fair. I agree with Zombie. I'm keeping him right there at pessimistic nervousness. If I was him, I would look at my team and just be a little bit nervous about how solely relied on it is from his wide receivers. Obviously, wide receivers in fantasy are a huge thing and he has some of the top ones. However, Adams does worry me a little bit just because he has not been consistent. Diggs has really been the guy that's been consistent. T. Higgins has dealt with injuries, and that Bengals offense has not been consistent either. So that being said, I mean, he definitely needs
Fucking
those
Adam
guys to pop
Thielen's
up.
the number 3 wide
Yes, that is
receiver.
another thing. Will that continue for the rest of the year? I don't know if it will. I mean, it could, very well could, but I just don't. I just see in the reason I'm putting him at pessimistic nervousness is because I see some regression for some of his guys, as well as his guys that he needs to carry him each week because his running backs are a little bit weak and his quarterback. We'll see how long Fields is out is a little weak. So that's why I put him at nervousness just from that standpoint. Obviously, he has the luxury with these injuries to tank a couple weeks and still be in a great position since he's now 5-1. So that's a very good thing. And knowing Matt, he won't be nervous at all because he's always calm. He doesn't make any rash moves usually. Usually his trades he makes are, only if it's a good deal. He doesn't ever panic and make moves. So even with his injuries, I don't think he's going to panic. I think he's just going to ride Geno, go with Harris still, and just hope that his wide receivers just keep putting up big games like they have so far this year. So, all right, moving on to the second team this week. We are going to put Ernie's team
Oh,
at the panic meter.
Oh
Obviously,
my
there was a
god.
lot of discussion on Ernie's team already tonight with his trade that he made with me. Um, I will start on this one. As I already said, my comments on the trade, I understand why Ernie did it. It's a gamble on both sides, especially for Ernie when you look at his lineup now, what it is making that trade. If JJ doesn't come back in a timely fashion and he keeps losing, he could be at risk at missing the playoffs after starting out the season so well. So it was a huge risk for him to make that trade, knowing that it's not going to look great for the next few weeks. But as I said, if JJ comes back, him and McCaffrey together with a Laporta who's been very good this year, those guys can carry his team enough to get to the playoffs, and you never know once you get into the playoffs what can happen when you have those top two guys in fantasy. They could put up 30 to 40 on their own, and then you don't need a whole lot from everybody else. That being said, at the moment, until you get some concrete info about Jefferson and the Vikings on if they're when they're bringing him back, I'm going to put him at a certain concern because you should be concerned about Jefferson. His team, in my opinion, really just comes down to when does Jefferson come back, and is it too late by the time he comes back? Can he pick up a win somewhere? Can he get lucky in a couple matchups upcoming these next couple weeks? Can he beat me this week with both of our issues that we have in both of our lineups? Can he pull out the victory this week? That would be huge for him if he can pull out a win or two and then hope that JJ comes back in a timely fashion. Then I think he's looking a lot better. But obviously those are all ifs and concerns, which is why I'm putting him at the certain concern. All right, Cheese, where are we putting Ernie?
I think we're keeping it there. Certain
Okay.
concern. Even with JJ, the rest of his team is kind of not good at all. Outside of Laporta, it's not.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
Lawrence, McCaffrey,
I think
JJ.
it would have been better for him to not trade for
Okay.
Bridgewater.
All right.
I would have
That's fair.
preferred his team before that.
Okay.
Because even though he does play me next week, so that could be a win for him. My team's
Mm-hmm.
not the strongest.
Yeah.
I'm being honest here, but he plays Rat right after, so like
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
he's taking these losses, and I don't know if he even wins games coming back with the house weak the rest of his team is.
Okay.
Even if CMC and JJ put up like 50, 45, not gonna do much when Addison and Dobbs and
Yeah.
JSN put up like 10 combined. That's not gonna help.
He's really hoping the Dobbs play works out,
I
like,
don't know. I like this team
and
better.
maybe Smith and Jigba catches fire. Second.
It's kind of he was trying to do what Rat has, but the like Rat has a much stronger team surrounding his big guns.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And even T-Law's been like very terrible this year. So
okay. All right. All right. Rat, where's your boy Ernie's panic meter at the moment?
I'm gonna put my boy Ernie right in the middle.
Of
Like
between
right,
dismay
yup,
and
right,
nervousness.
right there. And let me
Okay,
tell
so
you
to
why.
be determined. All right.
3-3 is obviously the Jefferson risk. Now, did he look at that? Probably not. Did he just want his boy Jefferson? Maybe.
Okay.
If Jefferson actually does return in that timely manner, we're
Hmm.
going to 180. We're going to the perfect because McCaffrey, Jefferson, Laporta. Uh, I think he could try to find trades with Addison because I don't think you want to hold on to both at the same time. We'll see what
I
Ernie
mean, you
thinks
ain't gonna
about
get
that.
nothing. You would need to do
But
that before
well,
Jefferson
yeah,
comes back.
yeah, oh
But
yeah. I think those are big names that could help turn that around. And right now, he has a good amount of wins to keep that close and maybe turn the season around.
okay.
But if Jefferson doesn't come back, then he's just gonna go all the way down to catastrophe, and
Mm,
it's
okay.
over. It's one of
It's
them.
done. Yeah.
It has a
It's
chance
big
of last
risk.
place.
Big risk.
It's
Wow, last
yeah.
place. I don't know about that.
It. I
He's
don't know.
already
I
got
mean,
3 wins. I don't know.
yeah. Well, like it's. I guess it depends on the schedule. I haven't actually looked at the schedule.
Okay.
So maybe he doesn't get last place because
Yeah.
Zach is struggling in that department. I think Zach. I do think Ernie just falls out if he doesn't get Jefferson back. Maybe not last
Okay.
place, but not a playoff team if he doesn't
I
get
got.
Zach.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay. All right,
That's
Zombie.
what I'm.
Um, I'm gonna put him in hopeless hysteria.
Wow. So the lowest out of everyone. Okay.
I would have put him in irreparable catastrophe,
Ooh.
but
Okay.
he can repair it by just trading away Jefferson to save his
Okay.
season.
Okay, but okay. So you're saying
I
so
think
just go back on what he did and try to find somebody like maybe Tyler still wants him and do the Tyler deal?
Hmm.
yes, he
Okay.
he got he got not well he got baited for his level of Jefferson,
Okay.
Hmm.
and it clouded his judgment because he traded for him, but he's not like there's a chance that you don't make the playoffs to get Jefferson back.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So
it all depends on when he comes back. If it's 4 weeks, then he's has a good chance. It's a good thing. But if it's longer, then that's when it gets a little scary. So, I mean, I'm
so
sure
I
we'll
think
know here in the next couple weeks what really is going to happen. I mean, if obviously the Vikings play the Chiefs this week, I don't expect them to win that game. So, but okay.
yeah.
All right, interesting, interesting. All right, moving on to the third team this week.
Oh.
Obviously, we talked about that matchup being huge between Zach and Pussy, so we're going to put Pussy on the panic meter this week to see. Obviously, he got a big win last week, so I took him off of it. But then his team came right back to earth last week and got a loss. So looking at his team, obviously he only has one Bronco in this week, which makes me feel better about going forward. I'm going to raise Pussy a little bit higher than what I had him. I think originally I had him at Hopeless Hysteria. I'm going to put him at kind of in between Hysteria and Concern. Obviously, you look at this lineup. I do not think it is a very good lineup. His points for would indicate that based on this year. He's really only had one good week where he scored a lot. So I just look at the lineup and say I just don't think it's good enough to get to the playoffs, number one. But then you have to worry about last place fighting to stay above it. Obviously, like I said, this is a huge week for him against Zach to pick up a win. If he gets this win versus Zach, then I put his panic meter from this to like around nervousness, because then he can actually fight for the playoffs. I don't think he'll make it even if he beats Zach this week, but then at least he probably doesn't have to worry about last place being the option. But a lot of concern based on the lineup, but he does have a path to kind of avoid last place led away if he can get a big win this week versus Zach. All right, Cheese?
Put him right in between Hopeless Hysteria and Irreparable
Oh, so
Catastrophe.
okay, a little bit lower. Okay.
I These trades been very bad.
Okay, yes.
And the only player of value on his team is ETN, and he really blow it up.
Okay.
Try to get some like 2-for-1s or like 2-for-4s, something like that.
Okay.
Because I hate everybody on his bench.
hmm
Um, maybe Spears could be something if they trade Henry.
Yep,
Maybe.
that's a path.
But I hate literally everybody else. The Broncos move, not it.
Yep.
The Packers are not. Love came back down to earth, throwing it. Gonna be risky starting Watson.
Yep. Okay.
I think he'll have some good weeks, but a lot more bad weeks.
Okay.
And I don't think there's a huge
If he wins this week for Zach, do you move him up some?
no because
No.
it's
Okay.
Zach. You
Okay.
gotta
Wow.
beat Zach. Zach
Okay.
is the worst team.
Yes. Okay.
If you don't gotta beat Zach. And as I said, like he has players who will pop off, but if you get like playing the matchups game, and he's like one stud. Etienne's like one guy you play. It's every matchup. Everyone else is like risky.
Okay. All right, gotcha. All right, Rat.
I'm gonna put him certain concern.
Ooh, okay, a little bit higher. All right, why?
I'm gonna say this because he should be a little concerned now about last place because
Okay.
he is getting to the point where him and Zach are just battling to not finish last place, and it's this team is not. I don't know if this is a. This looks like a 18-man league team. And
I think
we
that's a very good analogy. I would agree with that.
and I don't know how it got to this point. Hope we can
Well,
see
he
like
had
shit.
injuries
I
and
want
then
to
he
see
had
the
bad
shit he
trades.
drafted. Yeah,
I mean, it was injuries and bad trades. He lost Nick
and
Chubb for the year, and then
it's that is
he
true.
panicked on Taylor, got baited into trading him for Stevenson on a horrible New England team.
And I think, like she said, it's the hope of having good weeks versus bad weeks. It's kind of built like Zach's team. It's like, are they going to mesh together or are they just going to
Hmm.
change it up? So Zach and Who's have similar teams,
Also,
in
his
my opinion.
drafting, he was very high on
Yeah,
Watson, and he was very high on the other Watson, Deshaun Watson, and the
but
Browns,
this
and
this is
both
not
those
a
teams have
12-man
not
league,
come to fruition with the players so far.
so it's
Okay.
an interesting
All right, a
work.
little higher though than I thought you'd put him. All right, interesting.
Eh.
All right, if he loses to Zach this week, obviously you're
Oh,
dropping him.
it's it's if whoever wins this week,
Yeah.
it's basically last place. It's just
Okay.
going to the loser.
All right. All right. Zombie.
I'm gonna put him at hopeless hysteria.
Okay.
Um, there's just not much you can do to improve this team unless you trade Etienne for
Hmm.
a few players.
Yeah, but he would have to do like a 2-for-1 or like 3 or 4 for 2, and the players you get back quality wise aren't going to be as good as Etienne unless he like trade rapes somebody, which I'm sure
Yeah,
he's
it's a
looking
lot
for,
of.
but good luck finding it.
It's just Pusa got fucked this year. Basically, what happened.
Yeah,
He
pussy.
chose
Yeah.
he chose
I
his
mean, he also fucked
boy
himself.
Chubb. He chose his boy Chubb
Well,
against
yeah,
the
that's what I
Bears,
was
and
gonna
then he
say.
got
It's
injured.
he got kind of the triple whammy of fantasy. He drafted certain players that he was really high on, and none of them really
I
panned
have
out. He had a major injury to one of his stars, top draft pick, and then some of the players he traded, he didn't get good value for in his
I
trades.
have one more thing.
Okay.
There
Yeah,
is there's been times where we told him the Broncos boys have been questionable. He rode those.
Yeah.
There's a thing called cancel trade options, and when half the chat is shitting on the trade and you are just wanting to
Yeah.
go
You
through
want
with
him to
it
do a slaps and just
and
listen?
pushing, you might as well just cancel that
Okay,
shit
but
'cause
you do got to understand, Pussy
I respect it.
Pussy
I respect it.
believes in his own thinking and numbers.
But
He's not like Slaps from the UK
I
that if
agree.
enough people shit on it, he's like, "Oh my god, I'm actually making a mistake." Pussy wants to prove everybody wrong and believes that his numbers and his thinking is correct. He's been saying it for years. Every year he
I
says
agree.
that these certain guys that he's taking flyers on or that nobody believes in are going to pan out, and the
There's
last couple years they haven't panned out because his teams haven't made the playoffs. And now
there's
this
been
year
times
it's
where he
looked even
could have.
worse. So
Yeah. There's been times where he
there,
could have pushed
there's
away from certain times, but he has
yeah.
not done that. And
yeah. So
I,
basically, like he
I mean, that Jonathan
what he
Taylor trade is the one that I really just am like, okay, this is
it's
not good for
uh,
Pussy.
when he drafted Jonathan Taylor.
I know.
yeah,
He
and it was
drafted
just like,
Taylor, and then he
and it
made
was
a
the week he
good
was coming
trade to
back,
get
the
Zach
week,
Moss. So he
yep,
had them both. That way, if Taylor kept sitting out,
and he
at least he
traded the
had the
week
guy that's popping.
before.
And because some of us the night before in the party were saying, well, why are you so high on Taylor when he may not even play this year? And he gave this big, long, passionate speech about how Taylor will be back. He's not just going to sit out for the year. So
And
he
let me
made that
point out,
passionate speech, and then the very next day, after trading for Zach Moss, which was a good trade for him, he then shipped them both out for Stevenson.
His record was 2-2 at
I
that
don't know why
time.
you
Taylor was
Stevenson.
coming back. He has fucked that up.
Stevenson,
That
I
I'm
don't know
telling
why
you,
he would
that was
not
the
just
trade.
wait it
That was
out.
the breaking point trade.
I don't get it. I
He
didn't
did
get
a
it.
And the
complete
Broncos boys.
180 in a day on
He
his thinking. You should have
he
heard him in
brought
the
the
party.
Broncos boys.
You should, yeah. And then
He
the
will.
Broncos boys are a whole nother issue. Like that, I don't know what he sees.
If you get Moss, you can afford to wait for Taylor because Moss is
Exactly.
popping
That's
off.
why when he made that trade for Moss, I said, this is a great trade, good trade. Now you can wait. And he gave that passionate speech about Taylor the night before about how he will play. Oh, golfer, why do you think he's going to sit out the whole year and lose money? He wants money. He's going to play. And I was just trying to say, well, he said he'll never play for the owner again. So for whatever reason, I don't know if he went and read info or what to
Mm.
change his mind and do a complete 180 to then the next day after trading for Moss, he then trades both them away for basically Stevenson. Like that's the problem. It's that
I
trade right
think
there is
the
what has changed his
him
season out of
having
this.
his numbers has completely turned the season around, and maybe he just didn't have to listen to everybody.
Yeah,
You know.
well, part of it isn't he's listening to everyone. Part of it is he hears everyone, but then he wants to prove everyone wrong. So,
Yeah. Yep.
but he's got a big one this week to prove people wrong and get a win over Zach. All right, the final team in this week's panic meter obviously is the person that Pussy is
Oh.
playing. Zach's team. Obviously, if you look at points for, his team on paper is better than Pussy's because he's got almost like 100 points higher than Pussy. However, he's got one win less. He has had some unluckiness. He has the whole other factor of not making many moves as he still has $98 in fab, so he's barely made any moves. And trade negotiations are almost impossible. You look at his team. I'm gonna start because I want to give my theory. Obviously, if he loses this week, I think he's all the way at the bottom, catastrophic. I predicted, I think, Pussy to win, so I'm going to put him in between catastrophic and hysteria at the moment just because he has a chance to get himself back in it and get tied with some people to avoid last place. At this point, with the way Zach's team is and the way he's putting a stance on not really doing much to try to change it, I don't think there's any way he makes the playoffs at this point. So when I'm putting his panic meter in between this, I'm solely basing his panic meter on what is the panic meter of him finishing last place. I don't think he's got a chance to make the playoffs at this point unless he does a complete like 180 on his trading and his stance and all that. My theory, and I am pretty much sure about this, is Zach is proving a point this year. He last year dealt with a couple people, and Hunter was one of them, that refused to negotiate, refused to try to make any type of fair, in Zach's mind, fair offers. Now, Zach, we all know, has a pretty high evaluation of players. So they might have been fair offers, but in Zach's mind, they're unfair and negotiate with certain people. So he proposed the 5 trade minimum, which got shut down by most people in the league. So he is now doing a 180, and in my opinion, in theory, he is refusing to negotiate with people to get people upset with him. So then next year, when it gets proposed again, people will say, oh, Zach didn't want to trade with me at all. That's so upsetting and frustrating. Let's put a trade minimum in place. That way, Zach has to trade. I think he's trying to play a mind game on some people and a reverse psychology to get the 5 trade minimum approved for next year. Now, it's a dangerous game if he's doing that because he's flirting with last place punishment because of this team getting off to a bad start and not looking great. So by refusing to do any type of negotiations and trades with people, he's taking the chance that he finishes in last place. However, he did say the other day he likes his team and he doesn't believe he'll get last place. However, if he loses this week, it's definitely in a huge panic because this is a team he has to beat if he's going to jump somebody for last place. So
Zach, buddy, if
go ahead, Zombie.
you,
Where are you putting him?
I'm putting him in uh, turn concern.
Okay. Wow. Pretty high. All right. Why
I
is that?
think he can still. He's still got good players that can get him some win, but I don't think he'll finish last place.
Okay.
But he'll still be near the bottom. But
Yep.
Zach, buddy, if you keep this up with the acting like Hunter, we may need to
Ooh.
find a replacement for you, buddy. It's like,
Ooh,
damn.
okay. Wow. Wow. Okay, that's a whole nother thing that I pointed out last week when he canceled my trade and trolled me was, people complained a lot these last couple years about Hunter not responding and negotiating really and saying he didn't want to make trades. And now you're doing the same type of thing to everybody else. I
I
I
don't
know why
think.
he's doing it. He's doing it because he wants people to get so upset that then they vote for the 5 trade minimum next year. But I
Can I
don't know if
ask
it's going
about
to
that?
work.
Now, was Zach looking at that 5 trade minimum? Could any trade be done? Like, does it have to be
No,
like?
it
I
was
don't
just a
understand.
5 trade minimum. You just had to make 5 trades. So you could make
Okay,
5
okay.
small trades and it would count. Now you
I'll go
can't just
next about
trade
Zach.
players back and forth. Like you can't just do 5 trades back and forth because if you do a trade and then you turn right around the same day and trade it right back, we don't. That's not allowed.
Here is my theory on Zach. Uh,
Yes.
so can I go next?
Yeah. Go ahead. Where are
Um,
you ranking him first? Where are
hopeless
you putting?
hysteria. I'm gonna put him where you
Okay.
put him.
Okay.
And obviously, I think you're right about like his idea with the trade thing and trying to get it involved next year.
Mm.
Here is my thing with Zach and Ernie.
Okay.
Ernie will trade the moon for the players that he wants.
Yes.
Zach will hold on to the players even if it benefits his team just because he loves the players. So
Yes.
it's like a complete opposite, which doesn't help Zach, but
Mm-hmm.
actually could help Ernie at some point where Zach, it doesn't help because, if it makes his team better, why doesn't he do it? Or at least maybe look into it and try to get his team
So you're
better.
saying
It,
that Zach
honestly,
drafted
Ernie,
players he likes, because obviously
yes,
people usually
yes.
draft players
Oh,
you
yeah, yeah.
like,
You
but you
draft
don't
players you
have
like.
a connection to them that
Yeah,
is so far
he,
that you refuse to listen to any
Ernie,
type of offers.
I
And
get
that seems to
Ernie's
be what
connections.
Zach is at.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Ernie will give up the house for the players, but the
Yes.
house that he's giving up for that player is usually valuable. Zach doesn't look at it like, oh, my guy's slowing down now. Even though I like him, I
Mhm.
can't get rid of him just because I like him.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
that's fair.
Zach, Zach struggles to realize when is the time to give up the player I like after a certain amount of weeks, and
Mhm.
he hasn't done that. So
Okay.
that's he's just falling apart with that.
It's fair. Okay. Cheese. I know you
Oh God,
love
I'm
Zach.
not ready for
Where are
this
we
one.
where are we putting Zach's team on the panic
Move the arrow to the fucking white on the bottom. Fucking
meter? Okay.
more, fucking more, all
Oh,
of them.
more. Oh my God. Well, if we go too far,
Straight
then it's
down,
all the way on the other
facing
side.
straight down.
I mean, you can't go too far this way. You
No,
got
no,
to
That's
keep
straight
in the
it.
down,
middle
straight
though.
down,
Oh,
straight down.
okay.
Okay, so that's where he's going.
Okay.
Um, Dak is the biggest whiner we have, and yet
Ooh.
refuses to spend fab, refuses to take a free
Well, he
agent.
says he's waiting for he says there will be a $98 man and he will be there to
Well,
get him.
he missed it. That should have been Kyron or
Ooh.
Ford.
Okay.
Those were
Ooh.
the $98 men.
Okay.
But he's not even making any smaller moves, like picking up a defense,
Yeah.
picking up at like
Yeah.
anybody.
Mhm.
Like there's always smaller moves you can be making.
Yes.
He's not doing any of that. He's
Mhm.
literally doing nothing at all. He's not negotiating with trades.
I
Okay.
think he's giving up.
I think I will say I think the matchups have been a little bit unlucky,
Yes.
but it's
I think
not
that week one really got him
it's not going to get any
down.
better when he's not doing anything to improve his
That
team.
I agree. Yes, I agree. I
Because
think he
as I
needed to
said,
move on from that one week. That was a horrible loss, week one on that
Yep.
kick return.
as I
But
said, a couple weeks ago, you could trade his players have value. Unlike Pusa, you could easily turn his whole roster around.
okay.
People,
100%
all
facts.
Yeah.
everybody on his team, like Jacobs, Slant Boy, Flowers, Andrew, like
Mhm.
those all have values. People, I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody would love to trade for those guys.
Yeah.
Um, Debo, I think he's been holding on to a bit too long. Debo's been hurt and not great this year.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, he
I'm
can't
a
get
little
rid of him right
biased.
now because he just
Yeah,
had a
he
horrible
can't.
He's
game
He
and
sitting
can't.
got
But I
there.
hurt.
think I think he should have sold after his high game,
Yeah,
like
well, I would
a
agree.
couple
But
weeks
that
back.
leads back to what Rat was saying of he loves the
Gene is
players he
spitting
drafts,
facts.
so he's not going to trade them
At
away.
I
some
I
point,
also love the
you
players
have
I
to let
draft, but
go.
I moved on from the Sun God. When I
I
found
That's
know.
my
CD,
thing.
that could have been a mistake, but I tried it. Saquon I moved on from when I needed to get more depth.
Yeah.
There's I can understand like Jamar Chase. I can understand that's his guy.
Mhm.
He's keeping it, but he could have gone with some smaller trades. Maybe downgrade
Mhm.
Mark Andrews to get some more running back. You know,
Yep.
maybe try to get different flex, get different
Jesus
defense.
spitting facts.
Like he's done nothing to improve his team. Even Hunter was picking up players and
Mhm.
So maybe
fucking
golfers
making a
theory is
couple
right.
trades.
I'm telling you,
I think
that's
go- I
I
think
am very
golfer has the
strongly
best
I
theory,
very strongly believe that's what it is
but I
because
also have the most accurate. I think because
Well,
he
it's not
was
gonna
it's
work because I'm not gonna force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. I
Zach
think
is
you
the
can get
opposite
through.
of
I
Bernie.
think you can get through a whole season with. If you don't want to trade, you can do fab. You can do free agents.
yeah.
You can get bench guys. You can
I
do it.
also do also
So
believe a little bit of it is he is been very busy with
that's
his
fair.
work and his I think he refs a lot of
What
games
did he
now.
spend the 2-5
So
on?
I
Which
believe
I'd be interested.
I believe that's a little bit of it as well. Is he doesn't have the
Okay,
same
I
time
will
that he
say
used to
though,
look at his fantasy.
that might that might hurt with trades, but it takes all 5 minutes a week to be like
I
anyone in
understand.
waivers.
Yep, I
Anyone in
agree.
waivers, let's throw in a
Well,
bid.
I think
That's it.
he's just waiting for who he believes is a
But he's
$98
done
man.
nothing.
I know.
Like who's on
Well,
his
he's saving his
bench?
fab. So,
Like, let me pull up his team. He
What did he
has
even spend the two? Oh,
he has Amir Abdullah on his bench,
yes.
who has a combined 9 points this whole year. Like you're telling me there's no one better you could pick up that wouldn't cost fab?
oh, that's
Rico Dowdle, you could pick
I
that's
somebody
mean,
not
he's got
too
Amir
tough.
Abdullah. Isn't that the back? Isn't that he
Yeah,
doesn't? Yeah, he's the backup to
Zamir
Jacobs.
White can also be there's like
Oh
another
yeah.
lot. But you could also say like Alan Lazard has done nothing this year. You could find
Yeah.
somebody better.
Well, we get it. We get it.
Rico
He's
Dwin, like
definitely could have
Rico,
made moves. He definitely could
like,
have
he could
made
and
be
these are
moves.
busy
not
too,
like
like you
trades are
said.
time consuming. I understand that, but he could have done other stuff, which he's also not doing.
Yep.
But also, don't show up in the beginning of the fantasy season and say you're going to come out and then do this. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, we all
It's
know
Zach, though.
how Zach
It's Zach.
is. Yeah.
So,
We all know how Zach is.
So I think that he won't really
I
be
mean, we can say the same thing about Pussy because he said he was gonna be here every week and he hasn't been here like the
okay, but at
last
least
two
Pussy is
shows.
like active
So
in trade
no,
negotiations.
no.
He's
Well, yeah,
making
Pussy's always
moves.
active. I'm not
At least he's
saying from
active.
that standpoint. I'm just saying from the
Look,
show standpoint. It's hard
I
to
I
talk about
think
your losing team.
I think Zach is way down there because he's not going to do anything to
Okay.
change his team.
So
And
you are
points.
so the other people have said that there's a chance he or have said it's not a last place team, but it's not a
I think
playoff
it's a
team.
last
You
place
think
team
it's a last place team
because like
the way
he
he
might pick up a couple
combined
more
with his other
wins, but like
moves.
at least Pusa is going to fight to not finish in last.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
will argue that.
And I will take Zach's money. So
Ooh.
if he wants a buyout of
Uh,
$99.99,
Hmm. How many people did he
yes.
bet with?
I don't know, but I'm taking his
Well,
money.
he has the chance. I think he has a bet with Pussy, so he has a chance to win that one. And this would be a huge week for that bet.
Oh, he just joined Discord.
Yeah. Yeah.
just join the party.
Okay. All
Dumbass, you got
right.
anything to say?
Okay. All right. All right. So that will conclude this week's Panic Meter. We will catch everyone back here on the show for next week after some big rivalry matchups this week. We will break it all down next